My name's Irene, and thanks for tuning in to Irene's radio show. Of course, we'll be listening to some of the best artists today, but I want to share something with all the listeners. I just finished reading this fantastic book by Daniel Goleman called Emotional Intelligence. It is so fascinating, and you learn so much about yourself, your emotions, why you act in certain ways, and of course, how your brain works and controls these things. After this amazing song by Maroon 5, I am going to ask three scenarios. Whichever three people text on the website radioirene.com first will be able to text in their answers, and I will explain why and how they reacted this way to each specific scenario. This blew my mind away. I hope it blows your mind away too. Thanks for listening. I hope you enjoy the next song. Welcome back to Radio Irene. I hope you liked that song as much as I did. Now let's get to the interesting stuff. If you are listening and want to participate in the scenarios, please text the website as soon as possible. Perfect. We got all three online right now. Congrats, E_Morley, Dexter1, and Ian22. You are the lucky three that get to participate today. Alright, let's get right into it then, shall we? You are up first, E_Morley. The scenario I am about to say will be yours to answer. Try and get the most accurate memory, if you can. Okay, this is E_Morley's response. Yes, there was a traumatizing event that had happened to me when I was 28 years old. When I was coming home late at night, midnight-ish, and the thief came, points his knife at me, and tries to take my purse. I wouldn't let him have it. We were fighting each other, and I was resisting him when I couldn't anymore. He ran away with the purse, and I was furious. I felt something warm on my neck, and it was blood. He slashed my neck with his knife sometime during our interaction, and I didn't even notice. I figured out after I was treated in the hospital that it was inches away from cutting a severe artery. If that had happened, I would have died. All I keep thinking is why not just let him have the purse and keep myself as safe as possible. Wow, I'm so sorry for what happened to you. That must have been so scary. But this could have happened because we have emotions we have to express, and in certain situations, certain emotions run free, as in the situation that happened to you. The book specifically says that, and I quote, each emotion offers a distinctive readiness to act. Each points us in a direction that has worked well to handle the recurring challenges of human life. As these eternal situations were repeated and repeated over our evolutionary history, the survival value of our emotional repertoire was attested to by its becoming imprinted in our nerves as innate, automatic tendencies of the human heart. You were trying to protect yourself, and your first instinct was to fight back. But sometimes fighting back isn't always the great option, as you probably figured out. Now let's move on to our second scenario. This time Dexter1 will be responding. Dexter, this scenario will be the part of the book that discusses emotional hijacking. So has there been a time in your life where you have lost control of your emotions or quote-unquote lost it? Alright everyone, this was Dexter1's response. Yes, actually. I had lost it one day when I was driving home from work. I had an awful day. I got fired. When I was driving, someone recklessly swerved in front of me and almost got me in an accident. I started honking, and he stuck up the middle finger at me from his rearview mirror. I started to do the same to him and swearing when he started to speed up and then stop abruptly in front of me. I was screaming off the top of my head, and as I switched lanes and pulled up beside him, he was laughing. We had to stop at a red light, and he started flipping his middle finger at me again. And as you said before, I lost it. I got out of my car and punched his window, and I shattered it. He was angry because I broke his window, so he got out, and we started fighting. I broke my hand, got fined from the cops, and I had to replace the damaged window. I just went crazy. I don't know what came over me. Thank you for sharing this crazy story, Dexter. Having this reaction was most likely because, quote-unquote, a center in the limbic brain proclaims an emergency, recruiting the rest of the brain to its urgent agenda. You have experienced an emotional hijacking. From the book, hijacking occurs in an instant, triggering this reaction. Crucial moments before the neocortex, the thinking part of the brain, has had a chance to glimpse fully what is happening, and hasn't even had the chance to decide if it is a good idea or not. The main thing about a hijack is that usually when the moment passes from your emotional explosion, you don't know what came over you. And thus, of course, when you realized that you had to pay the fine, pay the damage for the window, and have to fix your broken hand. Now, this is the final and last scenario, which is headlined The Neural Tripwire. Ian, was there a time in your life when impulsive feelings overrided the rational ones? Please give a specific example. This was Ian's example. When I was a teenager, I got grounded from coming home too late from a party, and my parents wanted all my electronics as well. I was so angry at them that because they wanted to take my phone away for 2 weeks that before I gave it to them, I threw it against the wall, and I accidentally broke it. I didn't end up getting a new phone until my birthday, which was 2 months later. I think my impulsive feelings clouded my judgment in that situation. Ian, I think you're right. This happens to everyone, and a key part in why this occurs is the amygdala and how it operates. From the book, incoming signals from the senses let the amygdala scan every experience for trouble. This puts the amygdala in a pretty powerful position in your mental life, like a psychological sentinel. Challenges every situation and every perception that you have, but leaving out the most important question. Is this something I hate? That hurts me? Something I fear? If the answer somehow comes out as a yes, the amygdala instantly reacts like a neural tripwire, activating crisis mode within all parts of the brain. The amygdala is a very important part of the brain and a very important part in this book, which is why I'm going to explain how the amygdala works a little bit more in depth. The way the brain is constructed allows the amygdala to have more of an advantage as an emotional sentinel that is able to hijack the brain. Goldman found out from the research of Ledoux that sensory signals from eye or ear travel first in the brain to the thalamus and then across a single synapse to the amygdala. A second signal from the thalamus is routed to the neocortex, which is the thinking brain. End quote. This allows the amygdala to start responding to signals before the neocortex. The neocortex, on the other hand, contemplates and considers information through many levels of brain circuits before it fully perceives and finally begins its more thorough response. The amygdala can store memories and response repertoires that we act without really realizing why we do them because, quote, the shortcut from thalamus to amygdala completely bypasses the neocortex. This bypass seems to allow the amygdala to be a repository for emotional impressions and memories that we have never known about in full awareness, end quote. Did you know a visual sign first goes from the retina straight to the thalamus, then it is translated into the language of the brain? Most of the message then goes into the visual cortex, where it is assessed and analyzed for its meaning and for an appropriate response. Guess what? If the response is emotional, a signal goes to the amygdala to activate the emotional centers of the brain. Of course, a smaller portion is quickly transmitted from the thalamus to the amygdala, which allows a faster response, but also a less precise one. Then the amygdala can trigger an emotional response, but not a rational or appropriate one, because the cortical centers of the brain have not fully understood what is happening. And did you also know the hippocampus remembers the dry facts while the amygdala retains the emotional flavor that goes with them? Let's take a quick break and listen to some Taylor Swift, her amazing song called Our Song. I hope you all enjoy. And when we get back, you can listen to my own response to another scenario.
I was riding shotgun with my hair undone, and I wrote down our song.
Hey, welcome back. Now, my scenario will be about when emotions are fast and sloppy. So, my scenario is, has there ever been a time in my life where my reaction to something had been for no reason and it was fast and sloppy? Well, I can answer that. When I was in grade 2, it was the middle of the night. I heard a loud thump, and I thought that there was a robber in my bedroom. I jumped out of bed and I ran to my parents, terrified that someone was in my room. When I came back in my room, after my parents assured me no one was in there, it ended up being a painting that had fallen from the wall that I hung up that day. This scenario and millions of other ones demonstrates the power of the amygdala to push us into actions in emergency, crucial moments before the neocortex has time to completely register what is going on. A quote from the book says, "So what registers in the amygdala via the express route is, at best, a rough signal, just enough for a warning." Thanks, guys, for listening to this information session. I really hope you enjoyed and thought that all of this talk about emotional intelligence was fascinating to you. Please go buy the book Emotional Intelligence by Daniel Goleman. It will really change the way you look at yourself and your emotions. Now, enough talking. Let's jam out to some amazing artists like the Beatles.
Oh yeah, I'll tell you something. I wanna hold your hand.
Thanks for listening. Stay tuned for more Radio Irene and, of course, the Beatles and other popular artists.